The Australian Maltese Chamber of Commerce welcomes new members. For more details, visit their website amcc.org.au. Merħba fil-programm Maltese Down Under, programm bi produzzjoni kollha kemm hemm il-belt ta' Melbourne. Jiena Marlin Xikluna l-ġimgħa oħra insellmilkom. Fil-programm illum ser naslu wasla sal-belt ta' Sydney u nitkellmu mas-sopran ta' nisel Malti Amelia Farrugia. Nibqgħu f'Sydney u niltaqgħu ma' grupp ta' Awstraljani ta' nisel Malti li waqfu l-grupp magħruf bħala Macy u fl-aħħar nett nerġgħu lura f'Melbourne fil-kċina ta' Tregan Spiteri. L-ewwel taqsima tagħna llum ser toħodna fil-belt ta' Sydney fejn ser nitkellmu mas-sopran ta' nisel Malti Amelia Farrugia li infatti għadha kemm waqfet skola tal-kant bl-isem Sydney Sings.
Well, I've established a singing school called Sydney Sings, and I started working on that in January this year, and I have a stable of beautiful young Australian opera stars who are dreaming of an international career, and I'm trying to teach them to be able to compete on the world stage with the hope of going overseas and working and training over there.
So tell us, how did you fall into opera and singing?
Well, I've always loved ballet since I was a little girl. I loved being under the lights on stage, and that's where I felt most at home. And when I decided that ballet was a bit too much hard work because my toes started bleeding, I decided that singing was probably my avenue, and started singing lessons when I was 16 years old, and then basically kept training and went to the Conservatorium of Music. When school finished, I went to uni and I studied music there, and that's where my love of singing really took off, and I really concentrated on singing as a career.
And you debuted in 1994?
That's right.
And you haven't looked back. I mean, all the roles that you've played, not only in opera but also concerts with philharmonic orchestras. Looking back, that role or that concert that really stuck out and you'll always remember throughout your career.
I think Manon has been a very special role. It's a French opera by Massenet, and I was able to sing that role for Opera Australia both in Sydney and Melbourne, and then I was able to go over to the Metropolitan Opera in New York and actually cover a couple of super duper divas in the role of Manon. So that role is very dear to my heart, and also the role of the Merry Widow, where I covered Renee Fleming at the Metropolitan Opera in that particular role, and I also sang it in Australia. The Merry Widow is Leha, so it's operetta, it has dancing and waltzing and acting and singing, so the whole thing, and it's a really enjoyable piece to play.
You've got to be a Jill of all trades.
Yeah, Jill, that's right.
You can't be a Jack.
No.
You mentioned French opera. How do you master, especially Italian and French, because the operas are going to be in Italian and French, how do you master the languages?
We have a very good education system here in Australia where I studied French and Italian at school, but previously to that I had lived in France with my family when I was a child, the age of 11, and I went to school in France. So that was where I picked up how to speak French, and then later I picked up Italian in schools. And when you're working for the opera company here in Australia, they give you a lot of training in foreign languages, and they have the best coaches in the world working on the languages with you, so it's just part of the art form.
I know you've been to Malta and you've had a few shows there, if I'm not mistaken, or one show. Tell us more about that.
I was invited to the Teatro Manuel.
You said that very well.
Thank you. Back in, oh goodness, a long time ago. And I sang a Christmas recital, and it was wonderful because some of my family came along, and some of my family from Australia flew over. Mum and Dad were there, and it was a very, very special event for me.
How was that connection with the land of your parents?
Well, it's really remarkable. I haven't been to Malta enough. I haven't spent enough time there. It's such a beautiful place. Mum and Dad took us there when we were children, so I did get to meet all of the relatives and sort of go from house to house, and each member of the family offered us a drink of lemonade and a snack. So by the time we got around the whole family was stuffed. But wonderful people, beautiful country, and I'd like to go back and spend more time there.
I do know you have a dream of singing with Joseph Calleja.
I do. I would love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you
he's
see
amazing.
that opportunity coming up anytime soon? Are you hoping?
Well, we're always talking to managements about it. His schedule is obviously very intense because he's booked out so far in advance, being an international star. But yes, it would be a dream of mine to sing with him.
Now, a few years back, you launched your first album, Joie de Vivre. I think that's when we actually met, when I
Yes.
interviewed you for that album.
That was about 10 years ago, 2005.
Any plans of having another album along the same lines, or?
Well, it costs a lot of money to make an album with an orchestra, but I'd really like to do another album with either a harp or a piano, something, a smaller recital kind of album.
More intimate,
would be really
sort of.
nice.
Yeah. Only recently, the Prime Minister of Australia, Malcolm Turnbull, said a very strong statement at the commemoration of the Port Arthur massacre. Tell us more about that.
A really great honour to be invited back for, the 20-year commemoration of that particular event in Australia's history. And it was a very special event because it changed our gun laws, and the Prime Minister at the time, John Howard, was actually there again for the 20th anniversary commemoration. And it was a great honour to be singing there. And yes, the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, said some really beautiful things to me afterwards about my involvement, and I was very proud and honoured to be part of it all.
What's in the plans now? I know you've got Sydney Sing, so you're quite busy with that. Have you got any more tours happening in the next few months?
Yes, I'm busy doing concerts here in Sydney and around the place. I've been invited to do something very special, a one-woman show next year, which is in the works at the moment. There's a lot of work to get that together. And yeah, there's some really interesting work in terms of, concert repertoire with Jane Rutter at the Chatswood Concourse, and some really nice things that I like getting my teeth stuck into.
Yeah.
And these days it's lovely because I can sort of pick and choose my repertoire. I'm really enjoying my teaching. I love my students, and I'm also at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music High School, where I teach once a week, and that's just really rewarding.
I've been very lucky to meet people like yourself and Joseph Calleja, and also recently I happened to come across a Canadian tenor, Victor Micallef. So that's three major stars, one in Canada, yourself here, and Joseph in Malta.
Wow.
How would you feel if there was a concert of all three of you in Malta, especially with Valletta 2018 coming up?
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that would be amazing. That would really be sensational.